In today's video, we are going to be seeing and test fitting Hellcat seats in this Ram 1500 single cab. So if you guys are new to the channel, we've got Hellcat seats. Picked these up about a month ago or so because we have a Hellcat engine that we are putting into the single cab fairly soon. But this is just a Tradesman Express, and the seats in it are pretty basic. So I haven't seen anybody document it. It might be out there. I haven't really, seen it, but I'm gonna take out at least one seat. We're gonna see if this is even possible. Before somebody asks, yes, we are gonna be eventually converting to a center console. I don't have it at the moment, so we're gonna leave the center console or jump seat in place, but I'm gonna take out a seat, see what we can come up with as far as brackets, see if it's even possible, or see if this is just way too much work to even bother with. So hopefully we get to that in this video. One thing is both of these seats are manual, so they don't have the power necessary for the driver's side. Luckily or unluckily, whatever, the passenger side is all manual, so we shouldn't have any issues there as far as powering the seat. But this one is full power. Both seats, I believe, yeah, they are cooled, so it has that functionality, but this one is full power. So on this side here, since we don't have a power seat, we're gonna have to run the power to get the power functionality. I looked underneath. A lot of these trucks sometimes are provisioned for stuff, but pretty much the only wiring that I do see coming in through here is just for, the side airbag that's here, and maybe the seatbelt buckle, of course, but that's about it. 4 bolts. Let's take this thing out. I think I might start with the passenger side, actually, since there's less wiring, so that we can kind of figure out the seat rail stuff. And then the driver's side, if we get somewhere on the passenger side, then we'll attempt the driver's side and see if we can figure it out, and then the wiring, of course. So let's pull out the 4 bolts that hold in the passenger seat and see what happens. All right, as far as bolts holding the seat on, we got 18 mil. If you have the jump seat, there's these 2 13 mil nuts over here that hold this support bracket to hold the jump seat or third seat. There's also 2 10 mil nuts up here holding the front of the jump seat we're gonna remove. And there's 2 15s in the front. So all those are removed. Make sure your battery's disconnected. We'll unplug this, and then the seat should come out. Battery's disconnected with a 10 mil. Off comes our connector, and seat should be free. Okay, so seat is out. Let's go ahead and put them side by side and see what we can't figure out with these rails. Okay, so after some investigation, we got some good news and we got some bad news. So as far as the way these mount, so you have your seat base, then you kind of have this side structure here, which has the whole tilt function and everything in it. So I've been looking, and this is actually like this, the seat base attaches to the side here of this bracket, and if you look over here, this seat base attaches downwards into this side. So you pretty much, this is a design of the seat, so we can't swap this portion of the bracket. So working our way further down, you would want to see if you can swap the rails. So being the whole rail encompassing everything. The problem with trying to swap the entire rail is the distance. So when you measure from these bolts, and this one is bolted, these ones have these permanent rivets in place, which you can grind off, but the distance between the two is different. So let me show you. So if I measure where these ones bolt to the seat base, I get roughly 15 3/4. And again, we're measuring from these bolts that go down. So let me show you the measurement on this seat. So on this seat, when we measure the same thing so that we can see if we can remove the entire rail, from that post to this one, it's almost 16 3/4, maybe 16 5/8. So it's almost an inch bigger or wider. So essentially, to try to mount those rails onto here, this is going to be way wider, so you're going to be out quite a bit. The other thing to consider too is if we're talking about swapping over the entire rail, when we get to the driver's seat and we have a power rail on that one, that would be like swapping over the manual rail from the driver's side. onto our seat and effectively making it no longer power, which I don't know if you can even necessarily convert that seat or those rails back to manual. But all hope isn't lost, because if I show you guys the measurements from these rivets right here, so this measurement here is like 15 inches, 15 and 16ths. Like it's almost 16 inches from the stud to the stud, because they actually snuck it out. If you look at this hole here, this stud is actually outside of that. So they took these brackets and they snuck them outside of center of the bracket to get a little bit more room. So if you look at that measurement over here on the actual rail, if we take just under 16 inches, I can pretty much sneak those guys onto this rail. I'll probably have to fill a couple holes and drill a few new ones, but I can probably get those just inside of center on these rails, which, like I said, these ones aren't perfectly centered in the rail either. The other thing too is on these ones, they really don't give any like give to them. Like the holes are just the holes and there's not any slop. Whereas on the Ram ones, like look at how much play they allow you. Like you can stick your whole finger in there. Like that's like larger than a quarter. And then the front way, you can see how much slop they give you. So essentially, if we go back to the truck, throw the seat back in and see exactly where the rail is compared to the body and mark it, I can probably close up that tolerance and I can probably put them onto here a little bit better. And the other thing too is the length of the rail. So let me show you guys the measurement. We're good on the length of the actual slider itself. So if I take this from the sliding portion or the mounting surface, we've got 19 inches right here. And on this one here, it's about 18 3/4. So we're within 1/4 of an inch of the rail length. So we should be good on that part. And I know a lot of guys on here are probably more mechanical rather than electrical guys. So I was looking at the electrical systems. So on your standard seat, which you have here, you're gonna see a few different wires. So we've got this one coming across over here. This goes to our buckle so that it knows if the buckle's plugged in or not. This one over here goes down to, you know, when somebody sits in the passenger seat and it, you know, knows somebody's there. So that's this plug here. And then this one goes to the side airbag and goes up to there. So this one, obviously the seat, you'd have to completely dismantle the seat to get that sensor out of there. The one that goes to the airbag just kind of loops around the back, the seat back, and then goes, well, I guess on this side, but it goes up to there, and then it has the plug that goes into the bag. What I think would make the most sense, because this connector is totally different than this yellow connector, until we enable some more features and dig into the wiring, because you'll see here, like this seat has cooled seats, it's got heated seats, it's got a whole module front of the seat. So there's all sorts of things that we could enable down the road and get into some wiring. But just to get the seat functional and, you know, keep everything happy, what I would do is I would take this harness off, and you're going to take your buckle and transfer it over to this seat anyways. So take this harness, unplug it from the bag. This sensor here actually unplugs. So that unplugs out of there, and I already checked. We have the identical sensor right here. So this will just plug into the same sensor that tells the system somebody's sitting in the seat. So if we plug that one in, our buckle goes over here, because even this seat belt, I guess, latch has some sort of SRS system in it, which the Rams don't. So this would be rendered useless anyways. So we can essentially just transfer this harness over to here, plug it into the bag, put in our buckle, and it should function the same way as this one. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this seat back in, and these bolts here, you can see they don't really, the inner bolts, with the exception of this one, the rear one, they don't have a whole lot of play to them. So I wanna see, once we put this bolt in and that one, like where these back ones line up, so that I can kind of get a better idea of if it's to the outside, because technically, if we're trying to make up for some room and I move this rail out here and it's on the inside of this huge hole, and same deal with up here, then we're good, which does appear to be the case. It seems like the rail is more in and it's favoring the outside of the bracket. You can kind of see the indentation of where it was sitting. Same thing with here. So I think we might be able to afford a little bit of room to move these out, to maybe center them up on there, and then we might be good. So let's throw it in, double check some stuff, and obviously it's going to be a lot bigger project. It's not going to be as simple as just swapping some stuff over. We're going to have to get in here and actually get cutting and grinding and all sorts of stuff. So let's check it out so we can kind of have a plan here. All right, so we got the seat in here, and in the back you can see the old mark. It was favoring this corner. This center jump seat really does put a lot of sideways pressure on it, and as much as I push it in, it wants to keep drifting back. Over here you can see it is favoring this side as well. So as far as trying to spread this out, this one is to the inside of that, so technically you still could open it up a little bit. Like I said, this one's probably to the edge of this hole here, but that one's to the edge of the other one, so technically you should be able to spread these open a little bit. Only thing being, like I said, the jump seat, because it bolts to that inside bracket, is pressing on this way. And then the front, we got that one in here, and if you guys can see, it's pretty much centered in that hole. So we do have, I don't know, I would say about 1/4 of an inch to play with as far as, you know, some slop in that bracket. So I think we can make this work, but like I said, it's just going to be quite a bit of an undertaking. So, but just for fun, I feel like we almost have to. Let's take this out real quick, throw the Hellcat seat in here, because I know some guys are going to ask whether it even fits like next to the jump seat, which I don't see why it won't, but let's go ahead and throw it in real quick. Yeah, okay boys. So obviously it's not sitting at the correct height or in the correct position. I just threw it in here. And it would be, because those jump seat rails really try to kick out what's there existing, but yeah, it should fit in beautifully. You know, it fits in here as well, like same, you can see the distance on the other side, so it is fairly close to here. But as far as the actual seat itself, it is gonna look real good in here. Even just the seats, you guys, I feel like the seats is such a big change. Like, it makes the dash not look half as bad. Like when you look over there, you're like, okay, tradesman, but then you back up here and it doesn't even make the rest of it look all that bad. But comment down below what you guys think. Other question for you guys is, would you run the jump seat or just run no jump seat for now once we get into this thing? Because it's not going to be long before we tackle this little project. I kind of want to just document it for you guys and see where we're at, how much of a can of worms we're opening up getting this done. But either way, you guys know we'll be able to get it done. But I think it looks so good in here. Look at that. It's hard to pick up on the camera, but having those SRT seats in here is really going to freshen things up. All right, so that looks so good in there. And again, it's definitely not placed in there properly, but just seeing those in there compared to the cloth ones, way better. So comment down below how badly you guys want to see that. I'm gonna get to it very shortly. I just want to do a test fit. Honestly, if it had been somewhat simple, I would have just ripped right through the install today, but it's gonna be a bit more of an undertaking, and I still have a few projects to wrap up, so I don't want to completely open up another can of worms. The Viper still has to be put together. I'm just waiting for the paint to cure. Fenders came out beautifully. If you guys are interested in other projects, if you're new to the channel, bumper is fully repainted, so just letting this cure up, and we're gonna have to polish everything. So that'll be going together in the next few days. And then the other thing too is I still have this axle out here, so that's why I don't want to completely go with a new project with seats. I just want to see if they would fit and if it would have been an easy one for us today, but unfortunately not. So Mo's Performance hooked us up, and I'll put them up on the screen here with these brackets for our axle. So I'll be tackling that most likely tomorrow. So we got to cut off the whole upper bracket. So this isn't for the faint of heart, but this will get our geometry in spec, and a lot of the fast trucks are running these ones. So for our purposes, since this thing is gonna be going pretty fast down the drag strip, I want everything to be 100%. So we've got those brackets, so that install is coming soon. So thanks for watching, guys. Give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys think about the Hellcat seats going into this. So the more thumbs ups and comments you guys give me down below will determine how fast we get this project moved to the top of our list. So make sure you let me know down below by giving it a thumbs up and dropping a comment so that we can get working on this one. We'll catch you guys on the next video.